There we go. Now it's working.
Okay, good.
So, all right. Well, we're sitting down at the Sponsored Programs Administration today and talking a little bit about grants. This is Jackie, and I just thought you could give us a short introduction.
Of course. So my name is Jackie Davis. I am a certified research administrator. It means I don't know. I had to take a test to do what I do. We'll say that I'm associate director for pre-award operations at Sponsored Projects. I've been associate director since January of 2015. Prior to that, I started in Ball State. I've always been in this office, though we've had several names. I've been at Ball State for 11 and a half years, since 2006. Prior to that, I was a program officer for a community foundation, so I was kind of on the opposite side
Okay.
of the ask,
Yeah.
which is helpful, I think, in what I do now, which is help faculty write and find funding for their research and creative projects. So basically, I've 18 years of experience.
Okay.
Just working with grants in various capacities, both as the funder and as the ask, the person who's asking and helping people apply for grants. My first grant I wrote and received in 1998. I was a Ball State student, undergraduate, and I wrote a grant to fund my research, my honors thesis. So through the Ball State Honors College, my first year, my thesis research went so well, I wrote a second grant and got funded the following semester. And that was key because it helped fund me a salary stipend, as
Yeah.
well as some supplies for my actual research.
Great.
And probably the that I've been the primary author on the grant of probably about $15,000 I helped Horace and Indiana Academy write some grants to upgrade security and things like that.
Okay.
So where I was the principal author, but most of the time I just help people write grants. I
Yeah.
don't do that myself. So yeah, let me talk a little bit about Sponsored Projects Administration.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Maybe like some of the things that what might relate to a grad student, or when a grad student might actually come into sponsored programs.
Right. So the thing about Sponsored Projects Administration is we help through the entire life cycle of the grant, which means finding funding opportunities as well as applying for them, working with any copyright or intellectual property items, and then also helping administer the funds and then helping submit all the final reports and close out. So where students come in is obviously just kind of like I did before, is I need a grant to fund my research or my thesis work. In this particular class, you might be thinking more, well, I'm not going to do a thesis, or maybe that's a little down the road, but I'm thinking more of helping my school, my children's teacher apply for a field trip grant. That's fine too. The resources that Ball State pays for through our office and provides has all kinds of funding opportunities in it. And that's all linked on our website, which is bsu.edu/SPA, S-P-A. And I've provided some resources we have a page that's SPA for students. And on that page, there's already some canned searches for graduate students in various disciplines. As far as working with our office, we do work with students. We have several areas on campus that have very active student populations, whether it's to fund their own research with monies outside of Ball State, or even our Aspire grant program. So we do have an Aspire grant program that has deadlines a couple of times a year, usually October and January, for graduate students. It's like $500.
Yeah.
But there's other opportunities too, especially for students in Teachers College. The Lyle Bustle Fund. Also, if there's a psychological focus, there's the Hollis Fund.
Right.
Autism focus. There's Tucker grants, fund grants. So there's lots of opportunities for students, especially students in Teachers College within the university. But then outside the university, we do have resources to help you find those.
Great. Yeah, so if students like get to the point where they think they have a really solid, fundable idea and have worked through that proposal process, then if it's related to Ball State, they can come in with SPA.
Right. So if it's part of your work for your thesis, or you're going to be using Ball State resources, definitely work with SPA. You do need to identify a faculty mentor. So if you have research or thesis project, you probably already have one. That helps us with a little bit of the internal processes, and it helps your faculty mentor too. Help them get credit for assisting you with that process. If it's something outside the university, like again, let's say you have children and you want to help their teacher with a field trip grant, Target field trip grants, that's a great example. They have applications due in like September for field trips in the spring. If you want to help that teacher write those grants and it doesn't really involve Ball State at all, then you can go ahead and do that without the assistance of sponsored projects. So it really just has to do with Ball State resources. Now, if you need help, we're here to help you. So we can help provide a little bit of guidance as our time allows.
Yeah, great. What are some other resources that you think would be good for students? And I can send them some links and share some things with you.
Right, so I did provide a couple of links. So Edutopia, if you do any kind of work within K through 12 schools or STEM educations and community type projects, Edutopia, the big list of grants, is constantly updated maybe once a week. That's a great resource. As I mentioned, COS Pivot is one that our university pays for and provides. There's also the Foundation Center, the Philanthropy News Digest. Those are great, but also Google. Who's funding the work around you? Who's funding similar projects in your area, or the organizations that you're involved with?
Yeah, and I think one of the things I wanted to share with them, and I think a number of the ones you mentioned, the Philanthropy News Digest and others, they have email alerts where you can sign up, so students could like go in, put their information in, and then or like with Cost Pivot, I still get, I think it's every Sunday night.
Absolutely.
Wake up, yeah.
And you can set different funding profiles. So let's say you want to set up one profile in Pivot that's for work with the school, and another one that's work for your research, and another one that maybe you're involved with the local civic organization and you want to look there. Or perhaps you have an idea, you want to do things with sustainability. So you can set up different types of funding searches, and I like that because the email comes to you separated by topic, which is really great and very, very helpful.
Yeah, it's easy to skim over.
Right, that and the Philanthropy News Digest, again, is separated by area, and it's a free newsletter. So you may not subscribe to the Foundation Center, perhaps, but you still can get access to their weekly digest. And it's free.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of them are at the point where they're hopefully identifying some funding sources. But I think what I would recommend, I don't know, would be to continue to kind of look at different funding opportunities in that area, just because a lot of times proposals evolve, or you might, if you're denied one funding, you can resubmit to another agency.
The most important thing that you find is the sponsor that's the right fit.
Yeah.
And I talk a lot about that, and I think, kind of fit like a glove, right? You want it to be comfortable, you want it to be useful, you want it to match with, you want it to match your coat, you want it to match your scarf, but also you need it to keep you warm. But if you're going to go play softball, you obviously need a different glove. Yeah. So think about your fit and what you want to do. I also think of it in terms of funds. How much money is it? Are you applying for a $500 grant that when you really need $500,000? Is that appropriate amount of funds? Perhaps they have restriction that you can't travel outside the state of Indiana, but you want to do research in Minnesota. Well, that's not going to help. The intention of the money, so FI, intention, what is the mission of the sponsor, and does that match with your intention for your project and what you want to do? Your goals, your objectives, they all have to align. It's their money, and they get to tell you kind of how they want it spent in the best way. And then T for FIT, FIT is timing. When is the deadline? If the deadline's tomorrow and you just found it, probably not likely you're going to make the deadline. But perhaps the deadline is in September, but you need the money in June. Again, that's not going to be a good fit with the timing. So you always have to look at that. You have to look at when the funding period is, the project period for your the project that you're looking at for, and then when will that money come in? Is it like a reimbursement? Do they give you a check up front?
Yeah.
Those different kind of things all play into the right fit, and so it's important that you spend time looking at the sponsor's details to make sure that you're eligible, it works for you, you work for that funding opportunity,
Yeah.
and because you want it to be a good match.
So to clarify that, like with that funding time period, like if they wanted to do a project that required the summer, but the funding, the time, or they were only interested in funding for sort of, December through March or something, then that would be limited. Or if you're going to do something that'll take a year and they're funding for a 6-month period, they're expecting you to have everything done within that.
Exactly, and I do talk about often, making sure that you don't promise the world,
Yeah.
or promise too much. We have a wonderful funding opportunity here on campus, the Cohen Fund,
Yeah.
and it funds peace studies and peace fellowship. It used to be about $10,000. You're not likely going to solve world peace for a $10,000 grant.
Yeah.
If you were, it would have been done already. So you don't want to promise to solve world peace, or to attain world peace, but you want to move the mark. You want to make sure that for $10,000, that's an appropriate project to help move the mark toward
Yeah.
those peace goal objectives.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's surprising to me. The first time I always thought that you would be more competitive if you asked for less money. But the reality is that a funder doesn't want to fund something that they think, you know what I mean? They want to make sure that what you have is you can accomplish with the amount of funds.
Exactly, because they want their funds to be effective.